830-792-6161. That phone is sitting here on my desk, and hopefully it'll vibrate, and we'll see what you have to input to us. Okay, with that, let's talk about commissioners' input. Commissioners' comments. Precinct 1.
Recently, someone asked some questions in court during this 3 minutes. It's not on the agenda. Asked several questions that we couldn't respond to or answer. So what I did was use the occasion to put it on my Facebook page at Harley Ballou on Facebook and answered those questions briefly, just real succinct as much as I could. My phone number is also on there. Anybody that ever wants to call and ask those questions. It was a Precinct 1 voter, so that's why I put it on my Facebook page. So I try to address that kind of stuff when questions come up. So that's it.
Good. Precinct 2.
Let's see, a couple of things. Number one, thank you to the Road and Bridge for improving safety a lot on Peterson Farm Road by putting striping in on a really sharp curve with a lot of kids. Mooney International and all good in that way. Did a great job. Thank you. The other thing is in Precinct 2, but it's also very important for the county and for the city, the joint project between Headwater to Groundwater and the city of Kerrville put in the second well, drilled a well into the Ellenberger Aquifer, and it's over by the Veterans Hospital. And let's see, it's kind of like Spindle Top. A lot of water, 800 gallons per minute came out of that. Fantastic. The Ellenberger doesn't run all over Kirk County, but it's fingers of where it could be located. But that's really, really good news for this entire community. And it's my understanding that the Trinity and Ellenberger do communicate. And I don't know quite exactly how that is. Probably nobody knows except God. There's one other credit on that. There's a group of 4 or 5 guys that have met every Thursday for the last, Jonathan, 3 or 4 years, something like that, looking at everything and identifying what the potential is, where to drill the wells. They're former petrochemical guys, geologists and all. So that's really good news for Precinct 2 and for the entire county and city. That's it.
Very good. Precinct 3.
Just to follow up on that a little bit is they met every Thursday forever. It never charged anyone. It's all volunteer, and I mean the value of what if you were to hire a consulting firm to do the mapping that they've done of that formation, it would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they did it because of their love for the county. And really, I don't know that I have. Well, I do have one other thing. I think I mentioned several weeks ago about that large building on the interstate just to the west side of Comfort that a new business is going into. The company hasn't been announced now. It's the name of the company C.W. Lee. They're out of California. It's a family-owned company, and they make upper-end outdoor furniture and some other stuff. But they will be, I think, starting out with 50 or so employees. They open it up, and ultimately will be at around 250 employees in 5 or 6 years. That's their plan anyway. But it's an established company, so it'll be good for that area.
Good
this
stuff.
area.
Very good stuff.
Precinct 4.
Precinct 4. Need to shout out to Ingram Tomore High School. Their volleyball team is 19-0, rated first in state. I know they had a big game last week where they played a larger school, 4A school, that was 4th in state and beat them. So they're on a pretty good roll. Their football team's also 5-0. Also on Saturday, the National Day of Prayer was ceremony out here on the courthouse lawn was well attended. Quite a few people. I don't know how many. Harley, I saw you there. How many you reckon was there? 300 or 400 maybe.
Gets past about 20. I don't know.
Yeah. Take your shoes off. Can't count anymore.
Yeah.
So, but it was well attended. So that's all I got.
Okay. On the county basis, a couple of things that I would share. First of all, I want to congratulate the Texas Tech fans. What a heck of a football game. 56-63, 119 points between two arch rivals. I grew up out in West Texas, and trust me, I've been called by all my high school friends already. But that was quite a display of talent. One thing I did want to mention, I've gotten a lot of calls about political advertising on the courthouse grounds. And I wanted to clarify that the policy is not to have political advertisements on the courthouse grounds, although if you've got a bumper sticker on your car or something like that, we're not asking you to not park your car in the parking lot. But just setting up out on the corner out here with political flags is not permitted. And the few times that we've gone out there to talk to the people that have done that, they've been very cooperative and have left without a scene or a disagreement of any kind. One of the comments I got about that was some of the materials use the word that I'm going to abbreviate called BS. They consider that profanity, and that is offensive to some folks. And I would ask anybody that if you have material like that, please not bring that to the courthouse grounds. We can't really condone that. So I would just point that out. So with that, we're going to start our agenda. And what I'm going to do today, which is a little different, I've got Dub Thomas out in the hall. It's our emergency management coordinator. We're going to take 1.1 and 1.2, and I'm going to call them at the same time because they bleed over on one another. And when you hear I'll read out the agenda items, you'll recognize that the conversation, I think, would be more succinct if we call them both at the same time. So I'm going to call 1.1, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding an update, facility use, and other matters related to COVID-19. That's going to be Dub Thomas. And then the one that's mine is 1.2, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the local state of disaster order due to the public health and economic emergency proclamation that I signed back on March the 24th and was extended by order of this court until terminated by the order of this court. So we're going to talk about our COVID issues and state of disaster and COVID-related matters at this time. So with that, Dub, give us our bi-weekly report.
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. Y'all had a good weekend?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the current situation, we had no deaths from COVID-19 this past week. Total tested by Peterson Regional, and these numbers again are from Friday. Nothing gets updated over the weekend. So Friday, total tested by Peterson Regional Medical Center was 6,151. Texas Military Forces has been 812, nursing homes 675. Curative tests done by Davico Incorporated was 1,002. That's come up by 51. We had 51 folks that were tested on September the 16th, and 3 positive cases were found out of that testing sequence. Total tests were 8,640. Kerr County COVID positive from Friday was 7 new cases from Peterson brought us to 497, and we had 4 individuals hospitalized. Active and recovered, that's kind of changed a little bit over the last week or so. Active is 5, recovered is 616, deceased 10, and to be determined is 34.
Let's talk about to be determined. Explain that to the public so they can understand, because we're going to talk about the confusion of these numbers, because people want to know where the numbers, what numbers count, and so let's just start with the TBDs.
Right.
To be determined.
TBDs are to be determined based on testing, whether it's Peterson Regional or anybody else. It's if they do the PRC test, the PCR test, that's considered a confirmatory test. It is 100% confirmed.
That's the nasal swab.
That's the nasal swab, even the cheek swabs can be PCR test. The antigen test is not considered as sensitive as the PCR test, and therefore is like 86% accurate. So when the Department of State Health Services gets an antigen test, they consider that as to be determined until they have talked to that individual that was tested and investigated and find out if they had 2 or more symptoms of COVID at the time that they were tested. Then it goes into the probable category. The fun part about the probables is that probables will never be a confirmed case unless they go back and get a PCR test done. But for all practical purposes, for an individual that's been COVID tested with the antigen test, and DSHS has talked to them and they've had 2 or more symptoms of COVID, then for all practical purposes, a probable is really a confirmed test. It's a confirmed COVID case, it's just not the PCR test.
That sounds like a waste of money. If you have to call somebody and ask how they're doing, and your test didn't tell you how they're doing.
And that's if they answer the phone.
If they answer the phone.
Sound like hanging Chad to me.
But what I think is important for the public to know is there are different types of tests. And a positive PCR test result is a confirmed active case, correct?
That's correct.
We'll talk about who that's confirmed with. When you listen to them, just read off the numbers. He said, who all did the testing? Peterson, National Guard, nursing homes, and the Curative Inc. that the governor set out. We've got 4 different sources, and then maybe test for Kerr County residents outside of Kerr County.
Well, and even other local physicians and clinics here in town that do testing. Those numbers all go to DSHS as well.
And so let's talk about the reporting of the active cases. Who are those cases reported to, Doug?
They're reported to the Department of State Health Services.
And that is the official count of active cases. People, we've been getting all kinds of input about, well, you've got 20 active cases. Well, officially, DSHS, which is the Department of State Health Services, that's the acronym we use, is DSHS, determine how many active cases we have. And if it's a PCR active, then that a confirmed case, that is a confirmed active case. Is that right?
Correct.
But the antigen test, they have to do what we call contact tracing.
Correct.
They contact the person who had the test taken and confirm to try to make a determination whether or not that is an active case. And that goes into a probable column, which is not an active column.
It's a probable active. It's just not confirmed.
Right. And so there's probable active and confirmed active.
Correct.
And so when you tell us that we have 5 active cases today, you're telling us we have 5 confirmed active cases.
Yes, sir.
And we've got some other probables out there that may become confirmed.
Correct. Well, unless they take a PCR test, they won't be confirmed. They'll still stay in the probable column, but for all practical purposes, they are a COVID case and they are in our count.
And so when we talk about the exemption for 20 or fewer active cases, those are confirmed active cases, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And who makes the determination as to the number of those active cases?
It's going to be the Texas Division of Emergency Management through the Department of State Health Services numbers.
So now we've got a second state agency involved, which is TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, right?
Correct.
And we're assuming that they rely on DSHS data.
Correct.
But they don't receive individual data from the counties at this point.
No, they don't.
And so for this exemption to be withdrawn, it actually comes from TDEM.
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And for those that want to know how many counties are exempt, I counted them this morning. They're on the TDEM website. 71 Texas counties have the exemption right now. And last week when you and I counted them, it was 56. So it's a growing number. But once TDEM determines that we have 20 or more confirmed active cases, then they remove us from the list on their website.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming they're going to notify us.
Oh, we'll get notified.
Okay. So that's the process. And that's the confusion on the count is we have a lot of people doing the test and everybody has their own counts. We have to get them confirmed before before DHS puts them on the confirmed active list, which is the official list that we have to live by.
Correct. All the testing in Kerr County, whether it's a private physician or any of the clinics, if they get a positive, they're supposed to report it to the Department of State Health Services. And that's basically, it's our local health authority. We don't have a local health authority. We rely on the Department of State Health Services for that.
So I hope that answers everybody's questions. I know it's been confusing, but we're trying to provide as much information as we can on it. And there is a delay with this contact tracing.
Yes, sir, there is a delay, but I'm not sure what that delay is anymore. DSHS is working diligently to try and catch up. They did compliment Peterson Regional's infection prevention folks on Friday when I talked to somebody with DSHS about the quality of the information coming from Peterson Regional has been outstanding.
Well, and I'd like to echo that, and if you would, remind the people back during the height of the spike when we flared out back in July. We had just a little less than 100 active cases in a day.
Correct.
And Peterson has managed that to keep it under 20 for we're going on 2 months.
That's correct.
So Peterson has done an outstanding job in managing this crisis, and we compliment them. The other part of the topic here is the 1.2, and that gets back to our disaster order. And we ran all the traps again over the last couple of weeks about whether or not we should terminate that disaster order or not. And I think that the unanimous input that we got back is it's better that we keep it in place than terminate it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if there's any discussion on that, this is the opportunity for us to talk about it. The last thing I want to talk about as a corollary to the COVID are these outside gatherings of 10 people or more. And that was something that I have to deal with personally, and I see Mr. Dunnigan here that I want to compliment you in just a minute because you did an outstanding job. But I wanted to let everybody know how that works. If you'll remember, the governor issued an order initially saying that outside gatherings of 100 people or more. Now, don't ask me why he didn't include inside, he just included outside, but he said outside gatherings of 100 people or more, the county judge had to approve the gathering. And then within days, he withdrew that order and revised it to outside gatherings of 10 or more. And so it's fallen to me to have to talk to people that want to have outside gatherings. And let me say, first of all, I really appreciate those of you that have come to us to get that approval. And for those of you, and I know there are a number, that did not come to us for approval and had your gatherings anyway, let me encourage you to please come to us. I think you'll find that we've been very reasonable, and I think Mr. Duncan will probably confirm that in a minute. Because the governor started at 100 and cut it back to 10, my rule of thumb, and you can ask our court coordinator because I told her the minute it happened, my rule of thumb was if the governor was concerned to move it from 100 down to 10, then I was going to presume any outside gatherings, I didn't want to approve outside gatherings of over 100. Because the governor was concerned about that number, so I just leveraged off his number. But that was when the state was open 50% capacity. And a couple of weeks ago when the governor increased the capacity up to 75%, and I was turning people down on these requests for outside gatherings. Mr. Dunnigan is living proof that I did that too. We're going to talk about his case in a minute because he's my poster child. I'm glad he's here today. But I increased it to 150, just extrapolated the number. I went from 50% is 100 and 75% will be 150. Made sense to me. But some people had gatherings of more than 150, and I was turning those gatherings down. And I'm talking about Mr. Dunnigan, who's going to talk about his racing event. And there was going to be about 400 or 500 people on that one, and I turned it down. And I just wanted the people to know kind of where I'm drawing the line on these things. And I do this with the consultation of Doug Thomas, who's at the podium. Get together with my emergency management team, and we talk about what we think is safe and not safe. And for the events that you've seen at the courthouse, some large events and other large events, I know there was a large event in West Kerr County this weekend. Well, I guess let me just say for all these events, whether it's 10, whether it's 100, whether it's 150 or more, I have made it a standard practice to require that the event holder provide me with a COVID safety plan, a written COVID safety plan, and I approve it or disapprove it. And I'm going to start talking about Mr. Dunnigan now. He submitted a plan, asking for a written plan. He submitted me a written plan. It was a pretty good plan. I think we made it better by the time we were done, but it was a good plan. But it was going to be for somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 people. And I turned it down. And not because the plan wasn't good, turned it down just because of the numbers. That's a lot of people to get together. And so I met with Mr. Dunnigan last week, Dub and I did, and Commissioner Moser. All four of us sat around the table in my office. And we discussed ways to improve the COVID plan. And every suggestion that we made, Mr. Dunnigan agreed to do. And by the time we were done, we talked for what, 30, 45 minutes? Mm-hmm. I was very comfortable with having that large an event out at the airport. Because with all the open spaces, and they were parked their trucks of space apart, car length apart. There are going to be cones out there where they could park. There are going to be cones where you had to stand going to the food trucks, cones where you had to stand to go to the porta potties, and social distancing, masks. Everything that we could ask for, he included. There was going to be an EMS unit on site. He was going to have 4 police officers there to help enforce the COVID plan. Fire department was on call. It was
They
living.
announce it every few minutes.
Yeah, and they were going to announce it on the PA system and tell people when they were getting too close together. So what more could we ask for in that situation? And I just wanted the public to know that's the way we've approached this. So I call it, if you're going to have a gathering of 150 people or more, I'm not only going to ask for a written COVID safety plan, I'm going to ask for a written COVID super safety plan. And Mr. Dunning is going to be my poster child. I'm going to use his plan as the template that I'm going to ask other people to do. And I've gotten a lot of cooperation from the camps and for the wedding venues. It's gone very well. But I just wanted to clarify because people, I don't think, understood how we were doing this and the approach that we took, and I wanted to share our thinking with the public. And thank Dub for everything you're doing.
Well, and his plan not only included a COVID plan, but it also had a safety plan for the spectators and everything else as far as high-speed vehicles, possible crashes and that kind of thing. So it was a good plan altogether.
Bottom line, it was approved.
It was
It
approved.
was
That's
approved.
correct.
Judge, can you go over how are you interacting with the city on these? And I presume that what's coming to mind is DBAT facility, where they have large number of people that's in the city, and there's also an exemption for sporting events.
Well,
And
I'm going to use Mr. Dunnigan's here, so he gets to be the role model today. He came to me. He already had a written approval plan from the city. The mayor already signed it, and he says, "Hey, if it's good enough for the mayor, why is it not good enough for the county?" So there hasn't been any interaction.
And I think it's
That's the
clear
short
that the
answer.
county judge has the authority.
That's right.
That's it. County judge has the authority
Yeah,
for
the
the
trump
county.
card.
Right.
There's your pun. Okay, thank you, Deb.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Okay, now let's get on to the real business. Item 1.3, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the proclamation declaring October 2020 as Hill Country Night Sky Month. Bill Rector and Bruce Barton. And you may take your mask off to speak from the podium.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioners, Judge Kelly. We are here to ask you to consider declaring October Hill Country Night Sky Month. We are trying to make people aware of how important night sky is to the Hill Country. We have many astronomers who have their own telescopes looking at the night sky. We have a significant night globe that is developing around Kerrville, and we're trying to make people aware that this can be a detriment to enjoying our beautiful skies in the Hill Country. And we're trying to make people aware that that can be very easily decreased in amount by awareness, by not asking you to change light fixtures that are already in place, but when new ones are purchased, that you look at the effect that those fixtures might have on the night sky. I would point out that KPUB has already changed out the street lights throughout the city of Kerrville to make them night sky compliant. I don't know how many are aware that we have actually a observatory at Shrine University. We have an astronomer on the staff at Shrine University. To be able to use that facility to its fullest, we need to make the night sky attractive and available for those students to enjoy and to learn from. So it's something that will help us. I'd like to point out that many communities in the Hill Country, such as Fredericksburg, such as Llano, such as Dripping Springs, such as Mason, have brought their communities into compliance with the International Dark Sky Association. So it's a move in the Hill Country to attract people for astrotourism to the Hill Country, which will be an improvement and a help to our economy, to have more people visiting to look at our wonderful night sky. We think that declaring October Hill Country Night Sky Month will be a step in the right direction toward making people aware of that.
Thank you.
Bill, let me comment on something Bill said. The pollution, light pollution continues to increase
Yes, sir.
significantly. I think people are just not aware of how they can have lighting without imposing it on the neighbors in the community. I mean, there's all types of things. You said K-Pub did it on streetlights. I think that's good. We brought it up at the airport board last Wednesday. Mary's here. I think Mary's going to do some things out at the airport. It's a city-county polluter, I'll tell you. I think that there's some things to be done. So people can take retroactive action, but they can also, knowing about it when they install lights, can do it in a more effective way. So, you know, Hill Country is unique, and I think the bright skies in the evening is the important thing. Whether or not we'll ever get to where it is around Enchanted Rock, I doubt that, but at least we can keep it from continuing to get worse. So, thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Moser. It's an awareness. And,
Right.
Sure.
There is no reason to pay for light that goes up into the sky that does no good.
Right.
That light needs to be directed where it's needed, and up into the sky is not a needed
Right.
place. I'd like to also introduce Bruce. Bruce is president of the Hill Country Astronomers. That's right. And has an observatory in Ingram. Bruce?
Just outside of Ingram, yes. I'd like to express my appreciation to the court for offering us the opportunity to discuss this issue for you this morning. And yes, there are a number of us in the immediate area that have and operate our own observatories. So amateur astronomy is a thing, and astrotourism is a thing. The Hill Country has a unique and very valuable character to it. It attracts a number of people to come here, retire here, and spend income here. And I just think it would be a shame if at this crossroads that we find ourselves in now, if we squandered an opportunity to safeguard one of the very reasons why a number of people move here and live here. And so for that reason, I've become active in this relatively new group, Kirk County Friends of Dark Sky. And we are joining hands through the auspices of the Hill Country Alliance with other similar activities going on in surrounding counties. And so this is a unique opportunity coming up. We are going to be having, through the Hill Country Alliance, in October, a Dark Sky Awareness. And it will last the entire month. We will have a series of activities that we will be engaging in to help spread the awareness of dark skies in Kerr County specifically. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to make people aware that there are some relatively inexpensive things that we can do, that many of which will actually pay for themselves as time goes on, that will allow us to safeguard our dark skies without compromising security at night. It's relatively straightforward. It doesn't involve a super fund to do cleanup activities. It's just general common sense things, and we can provide guidelines on how to do exactly that for anyone who is interested. And so I look forward to sharing our information with the county and the general public for at least the next 6 weeks as we move forward and observe the Hill Country Alliance Dark Sky Month. So I'll turn it back over to you.
We've got a couple of activities. We were going to have star parties with gathering of children and parents to look at the celestial bodies. Because of COVID, we have gone to virtual star parties on the 6th of October at U-Bar-U, which is 15 miles northwest of Kerrville. But there will be a virtual star party. Dr. Elsie will be presenting that on the 19th and 20th. Bruce Bartons is going to also do a virtual star party from his observatory. And so there's going to be activities during the month of October to help celebrate this month.
With that, Bill, I will move that we approve the proclamation declaring October 2020 as Hill Country Night Sky Month. I'll not read the whole proclamation, but it's something I think we can put on our website if we approve it, and so the public can read it. It's well done. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
I'll
Commissioner.
second that.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve October 2020 as the Hill Country Night Sky Month. Is there any other discussion?
Well, I'm not sure I understand what it means. What are you supposed to do?
Basically, what we're trying to do is spread awareness of how individuals, businesses, homeowners, and so forth can regulate and adjust their outdoor lighting so that it is not a nuisance to either neighbors or to folks who are interested in seeing the starry sky at night here in the county. It has to do with intelligent selection of fully shielded light fixtures that direct the light downward towards the ground rather than up in the sky, which is the main thing that really helps.
So really, this is about more regulations in the future. The whole Night Sky International thing that you talked about, Bill, is making everybody, now you buy the squiggle bulbs, now you're gonna buy a certain kind of light fixture.
It's not a.
And you're gonna get a fine if you don't do
It's
it?
not a requirement, it's just an
Not yet,
encouragement.
it's not.
Yeah, right, it's just proclamation, just
But that's
encouragement.
what you were talking about, with an eye to the future, that everybody would have a requirement
One
for a
of
new
the,
building to have what is approved by the Night Sky people. Is that the idea?
My take on this is that it's educational. This is to teach so that we
Sure.
learn how to
I-
minimize light pollution.
I'm trying to find out what it is about.
There is, in Blanco County,
Here, Harley.
during the month of October, they are having an activity where for every Sunday, the restaurants are going to be darkened, and there will be candlelight at every table. And that will decrease the amount of light that is generated, yet still have an enjoyable evening for all of their patrons.
Well, so that the public knows what's in the proclamation is for the Commissioners Court to encourage citizens to enjoy the night sky and participate in Hill Country Region's events and programs celebrating the night sky and promoting the ways in which communities are working to preserve it. And then the next one is that the Commissioners Court encourages citizens to learn about light pollution and why it matters, night sky friendly lighting and lighting regulations, just learn about what they are, and implement practices and lighting improvements that will reduce light pollution, thereby preserving our night skies. That's what you're asking us to do.
This,
So I view that as educational and aspirational.
Well, some of us don't think of it as pollution, but as a safety measure to be able to see things at night. And I just see this as more regulation at some point. I'm not against it. I enjoy the night sky at my place. I don't think are you gonna get the box stores to turn off their lights at night? How are you gonna do that?
we'll see what HEB does. We'll see what Walmart does. Walmart across the nation has started introducing shielded lights in their parking lot. They want people to see. They want it to be safe, but they also don't want to pay for light that goes up into the sky.
I think there's,
Makes sense.
That
I
makes
think
sense.
there's, and I've seen in the past where there's a demonstration of effective light for safety purposes and how it can even be more effective than shining out. Because I think it's pretty good demonstration. I'll see if I can find it.
I think there's
Sure.
I mean, I don't see this as regulatory, I see this as educational, like the judge said. And I also see it as that they're to make an awareness that there are new technologies that don't hurt security and do help night skies.
Well, you get better lumens with LED lights. That's
Right.
an example, and you point the light the way you want it to go. But at some point, somebody's gonna say, you gotta buy this fixture now. Just like now, they say you gotta buy this light bulb now.
Yeah, I mean,
But I want to be crystal clear, we're not doing that.
We're not doing
we're
that.
not doing
And
that.
we're not going to do that.
Well, this is the first step.
Yeah.
It starts
This-
somewhere. It always starts with one step.
It is interesting going to try to buy a tungsten light bulb these days.
Yeah,
And you really can't find a tungsten light bulb, but there's a reason for that. Tungsten light bulbs are very expensive to operate. It turns out that LED lights are just as effective, operate much cheaper, and last much longer. And maybe there is a regulation somewhere down the road that required that for everybody to go away from tungsten. Probably the people who made tungsten bulbs weren't enthused about that. But the marketplace has moved away from tungsten bulbs, even without regulation,
Different subject.
because they're much more efficient, much cheaper to operate, and last much longer.
But this resolution is just to encourage people to learn more about
Yes, sir.
light pollution
It is
and enjoy the night
educational
sky.
Right.
We
And I'm in
would
favor of
prefer-
that.
We prefer that decisions about like this, which are fairly important, they affect everybody, they be done out of knowledge, rather than having it forced on by some regulation. In other words, to me, it makes way more sense if you get buy-in from the public that this kind of thing is the right thing to do,
Right.
rather than trying to force it upon them through a regulation. So if it's a carrot or a stick approach, I very much prefer the carrot. I don't like the stick.
We don't either.
How are y'all gonna be promoting this or what have you?
We have a website and a Facebook page at the time, at current time, that has information on what our upcoming schedules of events will be, as well as links to the International Dark Sky Association and other light pollution related resources that people can get the information from.
Okay. Bill, can you email me something on that?
Absolutely.
I'd appreciate it. I'll help promote it. I mean,
I've
you know.
asked,
Don will be glad.
I've asked our public information person to also get in contact with you, and
Great.
she can work with you. If we approve this proclamation, she can help promote it.
Whether you approve it or not, we would be glad to provide
Okay.
you with any information.
Speaking of approval,
Yes.
is there any further discussion, or are we ready to vote?
Right.
Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? No. So 4-1.
I would encourage everyone to look at our website, kerrnightsky.com, and our Facebook page, Kirk County Friends of the Night Sky. A lot of educational discussion there.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
very much.
very much.
Next item on our agenda is really pro forma. It's 1.4. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on the request by the Hill Country Dispute Resolution Center to renew the contract with Kirk County to provide mediation services in Kirk County and for funding. I put this on the agenda, well, actually, Ed Reeves put it on the agenda. Ed's not out in the hallway, is he? But this is routine. We've been doing this with them every year. It's already in the budget. We've already approved the funding. So it's really kind of pro forma with that in that regard. But I think it's important that everybody knows that we do have an investment in the Dispute Resolution Center across the street. And it's something that our courts do use frequently, and our litigants and attorneys use frequently. And it's been very, very successful here in the county.
So to confirm, it is in the budget.
Yes.
Okay?
Make a motion that we approve the contract with the Hill Country Dispute Resolution Center.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve renewing the contract with the Hill Country Dispute Resolution Center. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate reaction on the request to use the courthouse grounds for the Libertarian Party of Kirk County rally on October 9, 2020. Josh Butler.
Good morning, gentlemen. I am the Kirk County Chair for the Libertarian Party of Kirk County. We're just simply requesting to use the courthouse grounds to spread information about our current candidates in the state of Texas, as well as our national presidential candidate. We have a party member running for sheriff. His name is Warren Funk. We just want to spread some information about him and his campaign. We also have an ad going in the paper starting in October for Kerry McKinnon, who I believe is running for Senate. We would just like to use the grounds to spread information about our candidates and parties, and that's all.
Okay. You heard my discussion about needing a written COVID safety plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're anticipating more than 150 people?
No, sir, we are not.
Okay. Just give me a written, I mean, we need a motion and a second, I guess, somebody, discussion
Now, what-
about use of the courthouse grounds?
What were you talking about with political signs earlier?
The truck out on the corner that would have the flags?
You're just talking about vulgarities, or were you talking about politicking on the county courthouse lawn? Campaigning.
Those, for the political advertisements on the corner, yes.
So this is a political advertisement for a party, so does that fit under what you were talking about, or not?
Not if we grant the request, like we have with the other groups.
I mean, everybody should have access to it, but you made much of this early on.
Well,
So I want to make sure I don't miss the point.
Well, the point-
This is why I came here. I didn't want to use the grounds without any permission from
Sure, I
Kirk County.
understand. No, I'm not objecting to it at all. I'm just going to go back to what the judge said earlier. So the issue was not that somebody had a Trump or a Biden sign or something, it was that it had vulgarity on it?
It was actually twofold. The vulgarity was one part of the profanity. But the other is that to actually camp out on the corner up here of the courthouse and advertise for your political candidate without having courthouse permission.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
there you go. That was the key.
Without permission. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And we
Okay.
have a general policy, I believe, that we just, political rallies are fine. Having political signs kind of permanently affixed are not fine.
It's everybody's courthouse.
Right.
That's right.
I make a motion that we approve the request to have the Libertarian Party to have a rally on October 9th, 2020, subject to presenting or the judge approving the COVID plan, and ask that you work with our maintenance department on any specifics where things are, which may be
Second.
chain items.
So the motion's been made and second. The motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the use of the courthouse grounds for the Libertarian Party of Kerr County rally on October 9, 2020, and to coordinate that with our maintenance department. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you.
Very much, gentlemen.
Just give me the written plan.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of which, let's go to item 1.6. Discuss car races at the airport on Saturday, October 3, 2020. Ross Dunnigan.
Well, we did that, didn't we?
Morning, Commissioner. Morning, Judge. I'm the judge's poster child for the event. So pending FAA approval, we've gone local, state, everything. We're at federal level at this point. That's kind of our, at my
And that's because the car races are going to be on the airport grounds.
Yes, and that's from everything I'm reading, it's because the airport, I'm guessing, takes some.
Ross, back up. Tell them what it
Sure.
is. Tell the
Well,
public
sure.
what it is.
Okay, so this is a, which I did some research, which was done back in the 1950s, but this is a drag race, 4 cars and trucks, on the airport runway. Now, not the main runway that runs on parallel to 27, but the, is that the north-south?
Secondary.
Okay. So it is that runway, secondary runway, will be at the back of that. But we wanted to, one, for awareness things, make the drag racing community kind of more aware. 2, bring an event to Kerrville and increase the economics of it there and bring people in, hotel business, restaurant business, help explode that, as well as bring a lot of awareness to the airport, which it's done a very well job of doing that. So that was one of the main goals. Another goal, there is, not in Kirk County particularly, but across the nation, there is a lot of illegal street racing. So this is a way to bring that into a legal standpoint. People can still have their fun and not get in trouble for it. And also be in a safe environment where if things do go wrong, they're not putting anybody at risk or very, very minor risk, things of that nature.
So 2 cars at a time,
2
eighth
cars
of a
at
mile.
Yes, 1/8 of a mile, which is 660 feet. And that's due to keeping, again, in the safety of everything. We'll keep the speeds down, but you're still able to have a lot of fun. So I've worked with Mary at the airport. She's been a huge help. Dom's been a great help. I know Harley's jumped in on this, so, and then definitely with Judge Kelly's approval, with a very, very good safety plan, we should be able to have a very good time, again, pending FAA approval, so.
So Ross, and so people that want, anybody can enter?
Yes,
okay?
anybody can
Anybody
enter.
that's got a
Anybody
Tesla
can
or
enter up
whatever
until
can be
we
a part
reach
of that.
our capacity point, really. You know, we're gonna let as many people as we can in until we're at our
Right.
capacity point.
Commissioner Mosier's trying to tell you have a time to give a commercial here.
Oh, yeah,
You're right.
Do a commercial.
my thought of Thursday afternoon has changed since over the weekend with the information. So, yeah, so at this point, I'm sitting, before I really start making massive commercial information, I'm sitting at the mercy of FAA, so.
Well, you can make your commercial, just may have to postpone it.
Right, we may have to
Okay.
postpone the event to a later date, but yes, this is a drag race for the community, and anybody that wants to come in attendance, please come.
This next Saturday,
Yes.
beginning at,
8 a.m.
8 a.m., okay.
We will have a hard shutdown at 9 p.m., but 8 a.m. throughout the day, tons of drag racing. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you have, as long as it's not a motorcycle. We aren't doing any motorcycles, but other than that, I mean, if you got a Toyota Prius and you want to bring it out there and run it down the airstrip, we're open for it.
Okay.
So, and then we've got vehicles all the way up to, for example, my drag truck, I've got a purpose-built drag truck that'll be out there, do about 115 miles an hour in the 8th mile. So we're going to have all sorts of crazy fun stuff, great time, great community event to help spread awareness.
Ross, how many you anticipate coming? I'm sure there's a group that goes to these different things.
We've got a few interested people from Dallas, Austin. I've got some out of New Mexico. There's a ton of interest around Kirk County. I've had a lot of people calling in. Here lately, I've had to kind of postpone on that until I get some more information from Mary, but I'm definitely on the phone today to make that work. But we've got a ton of community interest to make this thing pretty much at capacity.
good deal.
So, but,
Very good.
I want to thank y'all, and
So Mary, this is pending FAA.
Yeah.
And what's the plan if it doesn't?
Yeah.
postpone till a later date.
Okay.
We don't know that date yet. We're going to have to work with the FAA and figure out when they're expecting things, and then from there we can make a call on a future date. But at this time, we don't have that information.
What's your drop dead date on getting FAA approval?
Today.
Before you post?
Today. I would like to give people enough time that have made reservations from out of town to come
Sure.
in and
Okay.
and
So
make
you'll know
appropriate
by
action.
end of the day whether.
End of the day, I'll be making a social media announcement, one way or the other,
Okay.
and see what we can do there.
Good deal.
Very good.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for coming
I like
down.
it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mary.
Item 1.7, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the repair, replacement of Brinkman hangar doors at the airport. Mary Rohr.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Commissioner Mosier asked that I come forth in front of you to talk a little bit more about our large Brinkman hangar. We have one hangar out at the airport that is primarily for business tenants, and it has it experienced damage on that windstorm that occurred in July 31st. So one of the doors actually lifted up and slid into the hangar and damaged an aircraft. So we've gone through all of our insurance policies through the county and received estimate to repair the door, and then we received our compensator, whatever you call it, would be what we could receive back from the insurance company. So the storm damage caused about $170,000 to basically replace the existing door. It was damaged. It's been put back up. It's usable right now, but there's some concerns with the door in the future. So the estimate that we provided to the insurance company was about $170,000. The approved repair cost after depreciation is about $125,000 that we have from the insurance agent. So we know that we need to come up with depreciation and different costs as well, but we went ahead and had as part of our investigation, we went and had a structural engineer come out and look at the hangar itself we're going to invest $150,000 in it. Let's make sure it's a good investment into a hangar that was built in the 1980s. So he came out and reviewed basically the structural members inside the hangar and reviewed around the perimeter and felt that this was a good structure. It's in good shape. It's in fine shape for us to continue to reinvest into the hangar and make these repairs to the door. So as we were there, he was trying to determine what the cause of why the door came off the hangar due to the wind, and he's concerned that this will also affect what we call the south door. So really, the north door was damaged by the storm, but we recommend that we also do the south door at the same time. So I'm working on putting together a bid package to get various different vendors to come out here and provide a cost. And our cost will be separated between what we can do for the north door and what it would cost to do the south door. So just wanted to give everyone an update. So hopefully we can get some good pricing out there. We have subject matter expert contractors there that would then be able to know how to respond to the door design itself. And then if we're able to get funds approved, we would then work on approving both the north and the south door so that they're very operational for useful life.
So I asked Mary to come present this to the court just for information. So one door is covered by insurance, the other door is not. The other door needs to be replaced. It's not in the budget, so that's the flag, okay? It's something city and county are probably gonna have to do when she gets some better estimates. And so this was at the airport board meeting the other day, and James was there and said, you know, we need to flag this as early as possible to see how we go forward. So this is for information.
So I'll be back. We'll come back. So that's what's going on.
You're welcome when you come.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Mary.
Item 1.8, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the software service agreement with Tyler Technologies for implementation of the Tyler Jury Manager, and and the software includes Tyler Jury Manager and Tyler Jury Response and Hosting. Ms. Lance.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. This is a contract that we've been working on for over 2 years to try to get our jury software updated. IT director and myself have been working closely with Tyler to get this done so we can get it implemented. And the contract before you has gone to the county attorney, and she has approved it, so I'm just waiting for your approval.
Is this, Don, is this a new contract, so it didn't have it in the past?
Well, what happened is the software that we had with the original contract is no more. Tyler bought this other company out, and
I see.
what happened is our system was not compatible to what
Okay.
they had. So
So
this
it's
is an
technologically an update and a new contract
correct.
for the
The other
system
one's
that you
null and
have.
void because it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, gotcha. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the contract with Tyler for the jury manager program. Is there any other discussion?
This has to be done.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
It's mandated.
Yes.
I just want everybody to know that.
Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
1.9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the contract with Xerox for a copier for the 198th District Attorney's Office.
I told Todd, I know he's listed on this item, but I told him that I would review it and let y'all know that it's a savings. I don't know how much the savings, and my office is under construction. I couldn't get to my file today on it, but it's a savings, and I've reviewed the contract with no changes.
I think copies went from 7 cents to 5 cents or something. It's
a good savings.
monthly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Blue, to approve the 198th District Attorney's Office contract with Xerox. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 110, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the Texas VINE, which stands for Victims Information and Notification Every Day. First contract renewal with APRIS, Inc. For the statewide automated victim notification service.
Yes,
And
good morning. This is our first renewal contract with the vendor who does the Savings and Bind program. I believe you should all have a copy in your
back up.
Yes.
What does this mean, James? This-
Yes, the county attorney has not had a chance to review this, so if you do decide to pass it, it'll be subject to review.
I would say we should do that.
Yeah, I think we ought to let the county attorney look it over before
So-
we do anything.
Is that a motion?
No, I'm just saying,
Okay.
we don't have to do anything, do we, or do we have to do something?
I think we have,
Says the action
Well, then I'll
is
make a
approved.
motion that we pass on this until we get more information.
Until the county attorney.
Until the
has a
county
chance.
attorney has time to review it.
We can come back to it later today if you like,
Okay. Yeah.
or then meeting.
Can we just pass it and come back to it?
yeah. I think the intent from Crime Victim Services was to try to get the contract in place today if possible. Sure. So,
This
So
is really
something else
neat.
that's mandated, right?
yes,
Really don't need a motion.
and this is a service that we've been providing.
Well, then we're gonna have to do it either way.
That's right.
Okay, well, then I move that we approve it.
Pending.
We did receive the grant already, and y'all approved it in a prior court.
Right.
So
Okay.
approve it pending approval by the
Pending
county
review by
attorney.
the county attorney.
I'll second that.
So a motion's been made by Commissioner Ballou, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the first contract renewal with APRIS Inc. for the statewide automated victim notification services pending approval of the county attorney. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you, Commissioner Moon.
5-0. While you're up there, Ms. Robles, don't leave. 1.11, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to transfer a vehicle from non-departmental to the sheriff's department. James Robles.
This is our Ford Taurus that we've had parked out there for quite a while. It does not get much use. We have a Tahoe and a truck that gets a lot more use. The sheriff was looking for a used vehicle for some of his operations, and this will work perfectly for him.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the transfer of the vehicle from non-departmental to sheriff's department. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.12, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the Center for Tech and Civic Life grant application for elections. Ms. Gargano.
So, we'd like to apply for this grant to help cover the costs of reprinting ballots because the Texas Supreme Court state ruling added the green card to the November ballots and they were already printed. So, we would like to apply for this grant to help cover those costs because that cost does fall on all counties.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve the applying for the grant with the Tech and Civic Life Center for Tech and Civic Life. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, 1.13, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding interlocal agreement with the UGRA for the feral hog abatement program. Commissioner Harris.
Ray Buck was gonna come in, but he had a conflict in scheduling and what have you. But this is basically what we've done in the past, same exact as last year, where UGRA partners with us. They provide $25,000 and we throw in $5,000. And as people bring in the tails for the abatement, they pay 10 and we pay 2 for each one throughout the year. So I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts to approve the interlocal agreement with UGRA for the feral hog abatement program. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. 1.14, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a resolution honoring the 100th birthday of Hazel, Barrier, Stevenson, Aylor.
Yeah, so this Aylor is Bruce Aylor.
Let me interrupt.
Oh,
Haley Aylor McMahon is on her way. I know you have a break scheduled.
We'll pass that till she's here.
We'll pass it till she's here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll pass that and come back to it. Let's try to take one more. Item 1.15, discuss Christmas lighting celebration and give update on Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation.
On the
Mr. Riker.
first bench,
Hand up.
George.
Judge, can you call the addendum as well? Which is the same item, but it allows for action.
Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the Christmas lighting celebration and update on Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation. That's the addendum.
Mr. Les, you want to say anything ahead of time or just?
Well, I think I announced to the court a while back that the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation was back in business, and George is heading it up again. I serve as, I guess, an ex officio member from the county, and attend most of their meetings. And originally they were going to kind of postpone things until next year to get started, but then it was decided to go ahead and do something this year. And the idea is to put ornaments up and down Sidney Baker all the way to the interstate as phase one, at least as far as they could go. And they had a rather ambitious fundraising goal over about a 2-week period.
Actually, 22 days, so.
In 22 days. Anyway, I'll turn it over to George.
Yeah,
to
no,
go over that part of it.
Well, when I wrote this, we collected $35,550 in 22 days, which really struck a nerve with the community. And this morning, I picked up about another $2,000 worth of donations. So, just for a short recap, the Christmas Lighting Corporation was formed to decorate the courthouse in 1995, and it was incorporated in 2000, and had that mission up until 2017 when the Callow Foundation took over. And in 2018, God bless the commissioners, the county took over decorating the courthouse. One of our goals long-term will be to help make that more better than it is right now. But just to give you an idea of what we have here, this is a picture of the ornament. It's substantial, 7 feet tall, weighs 45 pounds, and it costs $675. And in fact, Dr. Bill Rector is one of our board members here, doing a super job. Commissioner Les and he and his wife have adopted an ornament, and rumor has it that the county commissioners are going to get in on this as well. So
That rumor is true.
I think we're drafted.
But the interesting thing is that there's not been any decorations on Sidney Baker since 2006. That's when the new light poles were put in.
Wow.
And so 24 years, Kerrville done nothing. And so we got our publicity blitz is going to be Kerrville did it, and try and instill a sense of patriotism and honor and just joy in getting it going, you know. So we've ordered 44 decorations. There's 79 poles between I-10 and Main Street. Apparently a couple of them we may not be able to use because of the wires coming off of them. But one of the things we'd like to do with this extra money that the commissioners and other folks are going to give us would be to put 5 ornaments on Sidney Baker Bridge. But in order to do that, we need TxDOT approval. And I was hoping maybe one of y'all had some sway with TxDOT. You could help us grease that. And,
Well, we can tell them, but we can't tell them much.
well, that's true. But we need to add to our order, and we could, I think, but we need a decision like this week. And so I'm working with the city, but if anybody's got a brother-in-law in the office or something like that, let me know. I don't know, anybody have any questions on that?
I do. Is it both these things, George?
I think it is. Yeah, Tammy's supposed to be checking on the green
The
garland.
green part, okay.
And that'd be classy.
This is lighted, it says.
Yeah, there's 55 LED lights on it. K-Pub, God bless them, is going to install 110 power on the poles that we select. Because right now there's no 110 power. They'll put them up, take them down, and they'll even store them for us. So that's a huge.
So where do you stand financially?
Well, 35.5 right now.
But how much do you need?
Actually, we don't need any.
Oh, okay.
We're still trying to get you some money.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
No, but we want to buy more to put on the bridge.
So therefore, how much more do you need?
Another $1,000 would be just great.
That's exactly what we're shooting for. They read my mind.
I coach a lot of people today. I thought you'd be up for that.
No, and the other thing, new subject would be the lighting ceremony for the courthouse. Michael Huff and Broadway Bank would like to take that over. As I understand it, and Jonathan and I have talked about this, that Wells Fargo had it up until last year, and then there was some sort of contract either with the people that brought the stage and the sound and light equipment, or
Well, let me interrupt here a minute because we've done some research into you, George. There was a contract for 1 year, but last year there was no contract at all. It
That's
just
right.
Slipped through. So, but it came up at one of our meetings was the city has canceled the lighting parade, the Christmas parade. Traditionally, that parade ended up on the Courthouse Square, that, sing, light the tree, and everything would be going. The question came to me was, is that going to be okay with the county? And that's why it became, the addendum was put on so we could make a decision today on an action item as to how to handle that, what the requirements are going to be primarily from the judge for the COVID issue, how we, light the Christmas tree, and it's how that whole process will work. And then we don't have a contract prepared, but there will be a new contract in Broadway Bank. Broadway, right?
Yes.
Broadway is interested in sponsoring it.
So I'm gonna have to write my own super COVID safety plan.
Well, they could. Broadway Bank could do that.
Or the bank, or the Christmas Lighting Corporation could.
Right.
As long as we have a good safety plan in place, I'm comfortable with that.
We've kind of addressed that this morning
Right.
ad nauseum, so.
Well, traditionally, it's a week before, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, which would be the 21st of November,
Right.
would be the date.
Well, we'll need to get a plan, a COVID safety plan in place, and then the judge has authority to approve it. But we'll need to, then we'll get the contract updated, get it to the county attorney. We'll bring that to court in the next couple of weeks to approve the contract. I just want to make sure that everything was, that we were all comfortable with going forward with the lighting the Christmas tree as we've always done.
Do we need to have a motion?
I don't think we need a motion yet.
I'll be happy to do.
Does the court need to approve the use of the Courthouse Square? I guess we did.
We did.
Well, I'll make a motion that we, subject to a contract being written in the next couple of weeks, we move forward with the planning the Christmas lighting on November 21st.
And contracting with Broadway Bank?
Any contract with Broadway Bank, that'll be part of the
Okay,
contract.
good.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So the motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, and seconded by Commissioner Ballou to approve use of the courthouse grounds and contracting with Broadway Bank as part of our Christmas lighting
Correct.
ceremony. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Hey, thank you, I sure
Thank you.
appreciate your support.
Thank you, George.
Okay, it's time to take a break.
We've got. hang
okay.
on. Can we do that?
Bobby, we got time to do this before the break?
Yes, sure.
Then we will. I'm going to call item 1.14, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the resolution honoring the 100th birthday of Hazel Burrier Stevenson Aylor. Hi.
Hi.
All yours.
All right, it's on
You're
good.
supposed to tell them your name and address.
Okay, my name is Haley McMinn. I live at 207 West Lane. And on behalf of the entire Aylor family, I want to say thank you.
And the resolution, I'm going to go ahead and read it into the record
Please.
quickly. A resolution of Kerr County Commissioners Court honoring the 100th birthday of Hazel Burrier Stevenson Aylor. Whereas Hazel Burrier Stevenson Aylor was born September 23rd, 1920 in Fredericksburg, Texas, and is called Kerr County home for 73 years. And whereas Hazel has lived a remarkable 100 years in the Texas Hill Country, faithfully serving the church and her beloved communities. And whereas Hazel spent 17 glorious years working for the Charles Schreiner Bank, the memories she made during her time at the bank are still treasured today. And whereas Hazel married Carl Aylor, deeply loving his three sons, Steve, Donald, and Bruce. And whereas Hazel was a longtime member of the Sheep and Goat Raisers Association, the Hill Country Humanist Community, Cowboy Camp Meeting, and the United Methodist Women. And whereas Hazel volunteered every week for 17 years at Hilltop Village Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, and whereas Hazel has been blessed with 7 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kerr County Commissioners Court hereby offers its admiration and congratulations to Hazel Burrier Stevenson Aylor for her 100th birthday. I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second. Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the resolution honoring Hazel Burrier Stevenson Aylor. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. We'll start back at 25 after the hour. Let's come back to order. Next item on the agenda is 1.16. It's a public hearing for revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, lots 21 and 22. So I'm calling the public meeting to order. Is there anyone who would like to address the court at the public meeting? There being no one, then the meeting is adjourned. Let's move on to item 1.17. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, lots 21 and 22. Charlie Hastings.
This proposal subdivides 2 lots into 4 lots. Lot 21, 9.27 acres, and Lot 22, 19.84 acres. Will be revised into Lot 21A, 11.67 acres, Lot 22A, 6.03 acres, Lot 22B, 5.64 acres, and Lot 22C, 5.72 acres. All the lots are over 5 acres. The property access and road frontage to all lots will be on Elm Pass 2. We just had a public hearing, nobody spoke. County engineer requested the court approve the revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, lots 21 and 22, volume 3, page 100, precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Road Number 2, lots 21 and 22. Any other discussion?
Question, the acreage figures you just read are not the same that are on the plat. You were going pretty quick and I was trying to catch up with you, but I thought they were different.
He started with
Let me revise all that, then they made a slight adjustment, you're right, since we had the agenda bill originally written. But the acreages are still all over 5 acres.
Right.
Lot 21A, 10.86 acres, Lot 22A, 5.37 acres, Lot 22B, 5.47 acres, and Lot 22C, 5.56 acres. Thank you.
I'll move for approval for the acreage delineated in the plat.
You approved the second amendment? Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.18, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on November 9, 2020 for a revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, Tract 36A, to be known as Elm Pass Ranch Number 3. Charlie Hastings.
This proposal subdivides Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, Tract 36A, into 9 lots, and it will be known as Elm Pass Ranch Number 3. Property access and road frontage to all lots will be on Elm Pass Ranch, Elm Pass 2, and Russell Ranch Road. This subdivision is partially within the floodplain and must meet requirements for development within the floodplain. The smallest proposed lot size is 11 acres. County engineer requests the court consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on November 9th, 2020 for revision of plat for Elm Pass Ranch Number 2, Tract 36A, to be known as Elm Pass Ranch Number 3, Volume 6, page 248, Precinct 2.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to set the public hearing for November 9, 2020 at 10 a.m. for the revision of plat of Elm Ranch Road Number 2, Tract 36A, to be known as Elm Pass Ranch Number 3. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 1.19, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to conditionally approve a final plat for Deer Run in Center Point. Charlie Hastings.
This subdivision proposes 3 lots on Church Street within the high-density development area of Center Point. A concept plan was approved on April 13, 2020, allowing for Lot 1 and Lot 3 to have less than 150 foot of road frontage on Church Street and Swayze Street. All lots are proposed to be connected to the Kirk County WCID Number 1 Central Sewer System. This plat was submitted for review on September 3rd, 2020, and review comments were completed on September 22nd, 2020. Therefore, the 30-day period for the court to approve, deny, or conditionally approve ends on October 3rd, 2020. Required water and wastewater service provider agreements, Appendix M and N of the model subdivision rules, are lacking, but they are forthcoming. Existing right-of-way is 23 feet on Swayze Street and 40 feet on Church Street. 40 feet wide is typical for streets in Center Point. Therefore, additional right-of-way on the north side of Swayze, right-of-way to make the future total 40 feet wide is being dedicated from Lot 1 on Swayze Street. The plat that you have in front of you doesn't have some of the comments that have been addressed because of the rush to get it on the agenda to conditionally approve it. But I have been working with the surveyor, and he has those forthcoming. The county engineer recommends that the court conditionally approve the final plat for Deer Run with the condition that the developer owner provide required water and wastewater service provider agreements before the plat is signed by the judge and filed by the county clerk. This is Precinct 2. I will note that Commissioner Letts, I think we talked about this at our last meeting about the subdivision regulations in the workshop, was able to get some wording changed, a different form for Appendix M, which is the water agreement through Texas Water Development Board. So I anticipate that they'll be able to use that agreement rather than the one that was already in our regulations. It's clearer as what's being required from the water provider, and they're more apt to sign.
So that's the only condition, is getting the stuff from the water provider? You said it's
Yes.
conditionally approved.
Yes.
That's the only condition.
For Appendix M and N to be provided to us, and then once we have those, and the actual, the plat, Mylar plat, I don't know if the surveyor's here. Looks like we have them back here in our possession, so.
Okay.
Does it include an additional right-of-way at the corner of Lot 1?
Okay, I'll confirm that real quick, but I had seen one that had been emailed to me, and yes, it does, well. We're gonna have to. He wanted to make sure he was gonna get it approved before he finalizes this. This is not the one that will be
So
signed.
summarize the three conditions
The
again?
three conditions are to provide Appendix M, N, and to dedicate the right-of-way on Swayze Street.
Okay, so this would be
Lot
conditional.
one.
So I move for approval with those conditions being satisfied.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to conditionally approve a final plat for Deer Run in Center Point, subject to obtaining Appendix M, Appendix N, and the dedication of a right-of-way off Swayze Street on Lot 1. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, Charlie? What did you say about the water again?
I can explain that. And we talked about it a little bit. The model subdivision rules require that the developers guarantee there's water for 30 years.
30 years, sure.
I visited with the Assistant General Counsel of Texas Water Development Board and said that was an unreasonable request. It cannot be, no one can really do that. They agreed and said, we talked about some alternative language. I wrote a draft letter, sent it to Joe Reynolds of the Water Development Board, who's the Assistant General Counsel. He approved the language that I wrote, and then that is the letter that we're now using.
Okay.
And basically it says that they intend to provide water, that they intend to do the infrastructure, and it's subject to other governmental regulations.
Rather than assuring 30 years.
Right.
Is that gonna affect our subdivision rules?
Yeah.
It'll go in there as an appendix, and
But is that language we should adopt for everything?
no, probably just only for central sewer,
When
central
needed,
water. Only
as
as-
needed.
Yeah. as-
All right, that sounded a little strange. The owner developer is here. We have been having some ongoing conversations about this plat. And the way it had been submitted was for all of the lots to tie on to the sewer that's out there. However, I have been talking with the owner, Lynn. Tom is here, and she has noted that she does have a concern about Lot 1 being able to connect to the sewer, that the septic system is very, very close, adjacent to her house and very close to a very large oak tree, that she is concerned that if it does get connected to the sewer system, or if the septic tank ever has to be dug up, that she might lose that tree if she...
Yeah, I have to address it, that's why. proposition is that right now I'm declining to connect.
You don't have to, you're over 1 acre, so you don't have to connect.
Well, that seems to be, isn't that what's on there?
No. That's not gonna be a condition that she has to connect, because they're over 1 acre.
Well, so let's talk about our regulations now. Our model subdivision regulations, well, our subdivision regulations require if you're gonna have this many lots and water and wastewater is available that you connect. So,
That's inconsistent with 1 acre. We've got a conflict, which takes precedence. We've got too many properties out there that were 1 acre or slightly more than 1 acre. It did not have to connect.
But the difference is that this is a new development, and these are now subject to the model subdivision rules, where the additional ones are grandfathered because they weren't
I
subject
think
to.
we need to look at that.
Why can't her property be a cutout?
Well, just, there is a house, an existing house on lot 1. It's 120 years old, and that's where the big tree is, that I don't want to do anything. So when you say, you know, they're new, that one lot won't really be new. If
So
you
then
can-
we've got a fundamental thing here. We've got a discrepancy.
I'm
We've got an
sorry.
issue between what we've had in the past and what we're proposing in the future. I think, and we haven't adopted the new subdivision rules, so I think we need to look at
the
that.
developer surveyor, in an effort to be consistent with our regulations, submitted it following the rules. And that would be for all the lots to be connected to the sewer. If
So
we would
like-
like to do something different for lot 1, now's the time to talk about it. Yes, sir.
I would say that let lot 1 not have a.
Yeah, it's
central
4
sewer.
acres, right.
It is.
It's 4 acres,
Right.
right.
I don't think I think we have the ability to do that and be consistent still with the model subdivision rules.
We should add one more condition on the plat.
Okay. I'll make a
A
statement.
note that excludes
I'll
lot
make a
1.
motion that we approve with all the conditions, with the exception of lot 1 being 4 acres, not having to attach to the central sewer system.
I'll second that.
Okay?
So we've got a motion by Commissioner Moser, a second by Commissioner Baloo, to conditionally approve the final plat for Deer Run and Center Point, excluding Lot 1 from having to hook up to the sewer. Any other discussion?
Just a question on, did Moser and Blue make the original motion? Because there was a motion.
Moser and Les.
Oh, I didn't realize you.
Yeah.
How did I miss that? What was the motion?
The first motion was with 3 conditions, and then there was a 4th condition added, which is related to lot 4, and I will agree with that.
You'll agree to.
I'll agree with
Okay, well, I'll
that.
withdraw my second.
Well, you're second, we need your second anyway.
Les is gonna say.
I made the second, and I agree to the amendment that Commissioner Moser made.
So there are 4 conditions. One is Appendix M, Appendix N, a dedication of a right-of-way off Swayze on Lot 1, and to exclude Lot 1 from having to hook up to the sewer system.
Sure.
Okay, everybody in agreement on that one? Okay. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
It's like this all day. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't just me.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank all of you. I was really, holding my breath, and I'm just a tree lover, what can I say? And I wasn't gonna get rid of this tree. I mean, I will have to face it.
What was the
Up 70 feet.
70 foot
Charlie,
canopy.
Oh,
looked up,
that's-
it's 70 feet
That's
both
big.
ways. And otherwise, it's just a little old house on the prairie, and then you get this,
Right.
this gorgeous, I mean, it just.
We don't know what makes it grow so big.
I think Ashley said that. Thank you all.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
you have to do
No.
my name and?
You're,
Oh,
oh, go ahead and
for
say
the
your name and
record?
address for the record.
Do you have to do
Yes.
that? It's Lynn Tom, 125 Oak Park, Bernie, Texas, 78006.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
Beautiful property.
Thank you, Charlie.
Item 1.20, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve change order number 4 to the East Kerr Center Point Wastewater Collection Project Phase 1 in the amount of $445,978.21, and an increase in contract time of 66 days. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. The attached change order number 4 in your packet is for additional work by the contractor, including additional lengths for private service connections, coordinating with Atmos Energy on unmarked gas services that interfered with construction, special construction associated with service connections to houses, special connection and demolition associated with an existing septic beneath the structure at the Hill Country Cabinet Shop, additional sewer service connections to structures, demolition of septic tanks, and special property restoration for additional sewer services, a tap for the floating weir at the Comfort Wastewater Treatment Plant, flowable fill demolition of septic tanks at map IDs 282, 223, and 171, additional hauling of septage from larger than normal septic tanks, abandonment of septic tanks under structures and connections under structures, schedule delays in getting services ready for connections, replacement of services to make connection by gravity instead of pumps, and material escalation for steel pipe used in bores. We do have the design engineer here. If there's any questions, the county engineer recommends that the court approve change order number 4 to the East Kerr Center Point Wastewater Collection Project Phase 1 in the amount of $445,978.21, and an increase in contract time of 66 days, precincts 2 and 3.
Charlie, just for the record, that those necessary funds are in the budget.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I think we've gone through these changes and proposals, Commissioner Letts and I with you and the project engineer, tech ad nauseum, so
Yes.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve change order number 4 to the East Kerr Center Point Wastewater Collection Project Phase 1 in the amount of $445,978.21, and an increase in contract time of 66 days.
Question, or, and maybe it's Don, I'm not sure which one of you. There was a long list of change order requests from Posada. This encompasses approves of what? Some that primarily non-public justified, but there were some that were left undone. Are there still negotiations on a few of those other items, or is this the end of it?
Yes. Yes. This is, what, about 6 of the 10? I don't remember how many.
Yeah, there's still 2 or 3 items that we're waiting for additional information on from the contractor.
Yeah, Don had rejected, based on the information they had provided, the request for reimbursement for certain items. He said, you don't have enough data to back it up. And so they said, tell you what, let's pull that out. Let's at least get what we can agree on in front of the court.
Okay. I just wanted to check on that, and so there may be one more change order coming in
Yes, sir.
related to that. And I will also just say, Don Berger held their feet to the fire on these. He was not overly generous. He did the right thing. I mean, he justified, and I think the list here is pretty all-encompassing. Thank you, Don, for being so efficient with that.
Well, out of curiosity, how much more would be outstanding? How much more was in question?
I don't have an exact number, but it'd be several hundred more $1,000.
It's substantial.
It's still, yes, it's a substantial amount is what they're asking for. But like I said, they have not been able to prove it up to my satisfaction at this point in time. So I wouldn't recommend that until they have.
There are funds in the budget, the
Yeah,
overall
right.
budget, to pay for it if needed, but we're just not going to pay unless we absolutely have to.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. And those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Charlie?
Item 1.21, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to award a contract for construction of the Kirk County Center Point Wastewater Collection Project Phase 2, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board, and authorize the county judge to execute the contract when approved by the Texas Water Development Board. Charlie Hastings.
Thank you. Bids were received, open, and read aloud publicly at the Kirk County Courthouse. and the Commissioners' Court Chambers on September 3rd, 2020. The results of the bid opening were presented to the Commissioners' Court at the meeting on September 14th, 2020, and officially received. The bids have been reviewed by the county engineer and the engineering consultant on the project, Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech's recommendation and tabulation of bids is attached hereto for the Commissioners' review. The low bid for the project from D. Kerr Construction, LLC, for $9,029,557.52 for all work bid, including contract number 1, financed by the Texas Water Development Board, Clean Water State Revolving Fund funds, and economically disadvantaged area program funds, and contract number 2, financed by the Texas Department of Agricultural Construction, economically disadvantaged area program funds, and contract number 3, financed by TDA, CDF funds. The funds from the Texas Department of Agriculture are grant funds to connect low to moderate income households to the project. After analyzing the bids, the cost to connect the remaining low to moderate income households is not sufficient to spend down the entire amount currently granted by TDA for this project. The project team needs additional time to find additional low to moderate income households in the project area, if they exist, to better define the budget for this portion of the work. Therefore, at this time, no recommendation is being made for award of contracts number 2 and number 3. Again, contracts 2 and 3 are for the actual connections connecting houses. An award at this time may create unnecessary financial risk to the project. Therefore, a tentative award is recommended for contract number 1 for the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 2 to D. Kerr Construction, LLC, in the amount of the low bid for contract number 1 of $8,055,964.52. You can see the engineer's recommendation of award and bid tabulation for additional information.
There was, the bids came in, and this particular bid was low, very low compared to the others.
Yes.
I think Don and Charlie have been through it in great detail, checked the references on the contractor.
Yes, sir.
With that, and Don made my terms, a should cost, an estimate of what he thought it should cost. It was consistent with that. So the contractor looks like he's not only a little better, but qualified. And then the complication came in, as Charlie just brought it on, was not awarding the contracts based on the grants from TDA because of the low to moderate income number of people that qualified. And so to postpone those portions of the contract award to a later date. Is that
correct?
The summary?
Yes.
Okay.
Need to also read into the record for the purpose of, since there's multiple contracts, you need to make sure that when you analyze that it doesn't make somebody else eligible to win the award. Contract number 1 for all other construction funded by grants and loans from a combination tax and surplus revenue certificates of obligation series 2018, the Texas Water Development Board, Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Forgiveness Funds, Texas Water Development Board Economically Distressed Areas Program funds, and a grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Contract number 2 was for service connections, septic tank mitigation, and subsidiary work funded by the Colonia Economically Distressed Areas Program, administered by the Texas Department of Agriculture. TXCDBG number 7217045. Contract number 3 was for service connections, septic tank mitigation, and subsidiary work funded by the Colonia Fund Construction, CFC, administered by TDA, TXCDBG number 7218045. And the county has reviewed all bids and determined whether awarded per contract or awarding total bid for phases 2 and 3 will result in the same low bidder and that the bids remain competitive in nature. County engineer and Tetra Tech requested the court take the appropriate action to award a contract for construction of the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 2, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board, and to authorize the county judge to execute the contract when approved by the Texas Water Development Board.
And that's for contract one, not contract two and three.
Contract 1 of Phase 2, yes, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to award a contract for construction of the Kerr County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 2, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board, and that's contract number 1, D. Guerra Construction Company, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And the amount is $8 million.
What's it for, 8 million what, Charlie?
$8,055,964.52.
Question I have is, the unit pricing from Guerra on a lot of the pipe being very, really low. And we're going to some pretty rugged terrain in this phase. Did you talk to them about that?
I did. They feel like that they understand the terrain and the field conditions here, and that they bid it appropriately for what they believe their production.
That's an Austin company, so
Yes.
they should know.
They are, yeah, yes, they are out of Austin. They should know the Texas Hill Country and the soils that we have here. They have paid attention to the soils reports that were provided. They've also been out on the site and walked around and looked, kicked the dirt, so to speak. So they feel comfortable with it. That was the first question I asked.
If you look at the numbers, it's just that they're up to 50% lower than the current contract that we're finishing up, and 50% lower than everyone else's in some of those categories.
Yeah, and they're not hitting us with a big premium to go deeper.
Right.
Is really what it is. Their shallow pipe is competitive. They're lower than everybody else pretty much, but it's right in where we expected it to be. And as you go deeper, the costs don't increase that much. So that was something else that I noticed there.
It may have scared the other ones. Didn't scare these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big company. They should know. Okay.
Okay, and let's take a vote. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Thank you.
How long do you anticipate hearing for the Water Development Board to approve?
It's the Water Development Board currently is not moving as fast as we'd like, to be honest. They are taking a good 30 days to review things. So it'll probably be about a month before we're able to sign contracts and issue notice to proceed.
Yeah, 6 months ago, our schedule was to begin September 1st, so looks like we're going to be 2 months.
When do you anticipate having, I presume you're going to have a similar format for monthly meetings or weekly meetings?
Yes.
Last time, when do you anticipate having them up for that first meeting? Will it be after notice to proceed? Or?
Yes, we'll have a pre-construction conference about the same time as the notice to proceed. So typically we would give the contractor his notice to proceed at that meeting or immediately before or immediately after. So we'll have, and we'll invite everybody to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's proceed on to item 1.22. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to award a contract for construction of the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 3, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board, and to authorize the county judge to execute the contract when approved by the Texas Water Development Board. Charlie Hastings.
Bids were received, open, and read aloud publicly at the Kirk County Courthouse and the Commissioners' Court Chambers on September 3rd, 2020. The results of the bid opening were presented to the Commissioners' Court at the meeting on September 14th, 2020, and officially received. The bids have been reviewed by the county engineer and the engineering consultant on the project, Tetra Tech. Tetra Tech's recommendation and tabulation of bids is attached here too for the Commissioners' review. The low bid for the project is from D. Guerra Construction, LLC, for $6,751,664. $688.55 for all work, including contract number 1, financed by the Texas Water Development Board, EDAP funds, and contract number 2, financed by the Texas Department of Agriculture, CDF funds. The funds from the Texas Department of Agriculture are grant funds to connect low to moderate income households to the project. After analyzing the bids, the cost to connect the remaining low to moderate income households is not sufficient to spend down the entire amount currently granted by TDA for this project. The project team needs additional time to find additional low to moderate income households in the project area, if they exist, to better define the budget for this portion of the work. Therefore, at this time, no recommendation is being made for award of contract number 2. An award at this time may create unnecessary financial risk to the project. Therefore, a tentative award is recommended for contract number 1 for the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 3 to Guerra Construction, LLC, in the amount of the low bid for contract number 1 of $6,428,688.55. You can see the engineer's recommendation of award and bid tabulation for additional information. As I mentioned before, the county has reviewed all bids and determined that whether awarded per contract or awarding total bid for phases 2 and 3 will result in the same low bidder and that the bid remains competitive in nature. For phase 3, contract number 1 was for all other construction funded by grants and loans from a combination tax and surplus revenue certificates of obligation series 2018, the Texas Water Development Board, CWSRF loan forgiveness funds, the Texas Water Development Board Economically Distressed Areas Program funds, and a grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Contract 2 was for service connection, septic tank mitigation, and subsidiary work funded by the Colonia Fund Construction administered by TDA, TXCDBG number 7218055. County engineer and consultant to the county Tetra Tech requests that the court take appropriate action to award a contract for construction of the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 3, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board, and to authorize the county judge to execute the contract when approved by the Texas Water Development Board to Guerra Construction, LLC, in the amount of $6,428,688.55.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to award the contract for construction of the Kirk County Centerpoint Wastewater Collection Project Phase 3, pending approval by the Texas Water Development Board. Any other discussion?
I have 2 questions. One is, you mentioned in there that the project would be at risk. I don't remember the wording, but is that because of underfunding or some kind of clawback if we?
It's actually because of overfunding.
Okay.
So if we award a contract for that work and then decide that we don't have enough LMI connections to actually have installed with those funds and have to rescind that contract, then the contractor is going to expect payment for his bonds and insurance and things like that. So we don't take the risk of awarding a contract that we might have to rescind because we don't have enough work to do under that contract.
So that brings me to my second question, which is, what method is employed to determine how many hookups are required? How do you do it?
Our other team member, GrantWorks, who's been administering the projects here, doing administrative work, they have a team of people that contact the folks in the community. They've been sending out letters, they've been knocking on doors, making phone calls, things like that, trying to get in touch with the various residents to determine, to ask them to provide applications and provide income information, et cetera, to show that they're low to moderate income if they may qualify for that funding. That response is entirely volunteered by the residents, and so some do volunteer that information and have qualified, but there's still, 200 and some customers that have not responded at all. And so out of that, there may be some additional low to moderate income residents that we need to identify. But we need more than what we have identified at this point to
to be able to spend all of the grant money that we have.
Yeah, the other day, Harley, I think we're up to 115
Right.
people, and estimate it'll probably go up to 150 or something.
On
depending
that
how
list
many-
that he's talking about?
Yeah.
Right. So there's.
So there's a point at which you have enough and you can proceed?
Once you reach a point where nobody else is responding, then you say, okay, this is how many we have, this is the funds that we have, and we didn't want to do that prematurely, okay, and leave people out and leave money on the table.
Makes sense.
We have it depends on which pot the money comes from is the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a low to moderate income, it has to come out of one pot. If it's not, or we can't verify it, then it comes out of a different. There's funds available, it just depends on where the money comes from.
So the repercussions, obviously there's at some point a good faith effort made and provable.
Right.
So once that's executed,
Then we can,
bring it up.
then we'll spend down as much of the grant money as we can. Part of the potential is that we have too much money and we'll have to give some back to the state.
Okay. These two know a lot of this stuff, but
I understand.
we don't. So, well, I'll just speak
All
for me.
ears.
It's not a bad problem to have.
No,
Right.
That's the reason we have almost weekly and monthly meetings on this
Yeah, but
project.
after two, we're tapped out. So we're the only two that.
That's right.
The inlet.
We'll be willing, I think, Commissioner, let's not be willing to let you.
You can start going.
No, I don't want to go. I just want to get the clip notes.
There you go.
Okay, then let's go ahead and vote. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.23, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to designate a day of the week on which the court shall convene in regular term for FY 2021 pursuant to local government code provisions. And this is, we meet on Mondays, second and fourth Mondays. We have to renew every year. We can keep doing that or change it depending on your pleasure.
I move we have our regular meetings on the second and fourth Monday.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Blue to continue meeting on the second and fourth Mondays of the month. Is there any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Next item on the agenda is 1.24. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to terminate hazard pay policy and the court authorizing hazard pay for public safety personnel effective September 1, 2020. Court order number 38277. This comes up because of some new interpretations of the Treasury guidelines. If you want to address that, you're certainly welcome to. But just to basically summarize, the across-the-board raise that we gave, the new interpretation from Treasury is that you cannot do that. I've talked with the sheriff about this, offered to postpone to have this on the agenda when he could be here. He is perfectly fine with us terminating the hazard pay policy at this point.
So did they get paid for that interim time or not?
Through September 21.
Okay.
And those we pay that, and then we submit it to TDM. We've talked about them today. Submit it to TDM for reimbursement. They've approved reimbursement of the hazard pay through September 21.
Okay.
But they will not approve it going forward. So we terminate it, recommending it be terminated.
Okay.
That's because of the emergency order.
Well, there's these Treasury guidelines that come out, and the earlier interpretation was that you could do it.
Right.
And then they, what was it, September 2nd? They sent new guidelines, and they said, well, we changed our mind, you can't do it. So
Okay.
Too many people applying.
I think that's probably the case. I don't
Probably
know.
so.
But that's where we are.
I'll make a motion that we terminate the hazard pay policy, court order 38277, effective September 21.
Jonathan, they're two different things. The hazard pay policy will be one, and then the court order authorizing hazard pay for public safety personnel, I believe is that court order 38277. So
Okay, so let's make a motion that we terminate the hazard pay policy.
Okay.
The policy or the court order?
Policy.
We're going to do it in two steps, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want?
I think you could do it in two steps. That would
Okay.
be-
So we're going to do the policy first, and then we're going to do the order.
Okay, I second it.
We're going to eliminate a policy.
Right. That we pay hazard pay. That's it.
Why eliminate the policy?
We
Why
don't have
it?
the money.
I understand that, but why not have a policy in the event that it's necessary to use it or needed in the future?
Because the policy says across the board, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And that was the part that they said we couldn't do now.
Right.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
I'm glad if they're gonna do that, I'm glad we caught it early.
Sure.
Exactly. Now,
So we have a motion by Commissioner Letts and a second by Commissioner Harris to terminate the hazard pay policy for public safety personnel. Any other discussion on that?
are we going to be dinged for having done it for however many weeks?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This seemed to be, this was, my impression from sitting in on one of the conversations, this was just matter of fact. They caught Tina by surprise. They thought it was going to, when they changed the
Okay.
interpretation, so.
Also, I think Jonathan's motion was to terminate the hazard pay policy generally. I don't think it was just for the public
Correct.
safety personnel. I think that'll be the second part, the second
Okay.
motion.
So to clarify then, the motion is to terminate the hazard pay policy, period.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then the court.
And we are amending, they did say that they were not going to cover some of this, but we are going back and we are going to appeal the decision. And we do have other funds that we've spent that we can use instead of the hazard pay. So we will be fine. We will
That'd be a
get the
different
money
subject.
back. I'm
You'll
sorry.
come back for that.
We don't have to come back for that.
That'll be handled through your office.
It'll be
There's no
handled through
voting.
our office. It's just a reporting.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll come up in a budget amendment.
So, Tanya, what you're saying is part of it
It's in a
could be,
contingent fund.
if it's not covered by the grant, we're gonna cover it some other way?
There's other funds in the grant.
Oh, other funds in the grant.
Other funds that we can apply for under the grant.
Okay, still under the grant.
Still under the
Okay,
grant.
thank you. I didn't understand.
Okay, so it wouldn't be in our budget. It wouldn't come out of our budget.
Come out of the grant.
It'll come
Out of the grant, the money that was budgeted through the grant, which
Yes.
we already have, and we haven't used it all. So it'll just be
Correct.
spent from that.
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody got this?
Yep.
So what's your motion?
Terminate the hazard policy.
Hazard pay policy. That's it.
Period.
That's the first.
Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Second motion?
Second motion would be that we cancel Court Order 38277, which led to hazard pay for public safety personnel.
I want to make sure we're not rescinding, we're terminating that order, right?
Terminating that order effective September 21st.
Because it was still in effect for the part that we paid.
Right.
So,
Terminated effective September 21st.
Second.
okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to terminate Court Order 38277, which was hazard pay for public safety personnel. Any other discussion?
Well, to make this clear, because of what the auditor says, that this money has to be spent a certain way. It has to be earmarked. So if we were to say, for anybody that would ask the question, why can't you continue the hazard pay and just pay it another way? This was coming out of that fund.
Tatum made it clear to us on the 22nd that there were issues with what we had. We had contacted them on the 1st, on the 2nd. We had a conversation with them on the 8th. We turned over more information to them on the 9th. On the 18th, they sent back the first email to us that said, oh, there may be issues with it based on clarifications from the Treasury. And so that was when we started looking at it. That was late on a Friday afternoon. On Monday is whenever they sent the additional information to us, or on the 22nd, I don't know if that was Monday or Tuesday, is when they said their recommendation was for us to stop paying hazard pay. We are going to appeal it, just to say, you know, we followed y'all's guidelines, we've done it all through, we've got a timeline situated, so we will be appealing their decision. But we do have other expenses that we can use for that money.
Well, I just want everybody to understand that they don't just send you a bunch of money, you can use it any way you choose. There's different ways that you can use it. If you use it the wrong way, you gotta pay it back.
That's right.
which costs the taxpayers.
And it's also more for the public. The Treasury Department sets out the rules on how you play the game with all of this grant funds. And the Treasury Department has changed the rules several times.
That's right.
In the middle of the game.
Well, there's been a lot of moving the goalposts since
Oh,
all this
gosh,
stuff started.
very fluid.
And just so that the public does know that this has been communicated with the sheriff's office step by step. Every step of the way. Okay. And those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. 1.25, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the revised payroll verification form. Ms. Doss.
Good morning. I just wanted to add the last sentence, it should be in your packet, to include the longevity date in the payroll verification letter.
Do clarification, I move for approval.
Second.
Go ahead. Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to approve the revised payroll verification form, which provides what, the anniversary date?
The longevity date.
Longevity date. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0, unanimous.
Thank you.
Approval agenda. Ms. Auditor, let's pay the bills.
All right, invoices for today's consideration, $277,039.20 for Kerr County. The airport, $10,518.38. Adult probation for the 2021 year, $14,365.52. Adult probation for the 1920 fiscal year, $25.02. Juvenile probation, $2,711. For the 216th DA forfeiture fund, $709.65. And for the 198th DA forfeiture fund, $2,112.50.
Should we pay the bills?
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser, seconded by Commissioner Ballou, to pay the bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0, unanimous. Budget amendments.
Yes, we have 13 today. On the first page, adjustments number 1 through 9 are operating accounts, line item transfers for ag extension, animal control, district clerk, sheriff, county attorney, non-departmental, county engineer, road and bridge, and transfer accounts. You'll see on page 2 and page 3, adjustments number 10, 11, 12, and 13 are all payroll related. This is to account for our payroll accruals at the end of the year.
I move for approval.
And 13 is indigent health.
Yes, it's payroll related as well.
Okay.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Letts, to approve the budget amendments as presented. Is there any discussion?
I have something I want to ask. On the conferences, James, from the county attorney,
Yes.
you didn't go to any conferences, so you just put it back in?
No, we're taking it from conferences and
Yeah.
putting it into group insurance.
Oh, it's insurance this one.
Or, I'm sorry, county attorney. We're putting it into capital outlay. This is for the flooring.
Because I know nobody went to any conferences.
No.
So. But I thought there might be a specific need for it, taking it from that line to another.
You remember a few weeks ago, we came and talked about the flooring from my office?
Right.
They're working on that flooring right now, and that was some of the money that we used to go ahead and do that, that flooring. So that's why it was transferred out there.
Okay.
You should come see it next week after we have to clean that. I'll let y'all know.
We'll wait till next week.
Yes.
I move for approval. Or did we already do that?
I think we did
We've
that.
got that.
Okay,
We
that's
just
the
need to take a
question
vote.
part.
Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 5-0. Late bills.
There are not any.
Okay, auditor reports.
In front of you, you will see the graphs for the month of August. On the general fund, on revenues, we've collected $26,530,000. On the expenditures, down at the graph at the bottom, we've spent about $22 million of that. For fire protection, we've collected 1.5 million. We've spent about 1.5 million. On road and bridge, we've collected 3.2 million and we've expended 3.2 million. And then in indigent services, we've collected 232,000 and we've expended 181,000. And then in debt service, we've collected $2 million and we spent about $2 million. Sales tax still continues to remain strong. For the month of August, we collected $437,000. And then for the month of October, we will collect $417,000. So it continues to remain strong.
So buying local seems to work.
Yes.
Yep.
Good.
Any questions?
No. Okay, item 2.5, accept monthly reports.
Yes, August 2020, Treasurer's Monthly Report, Tracy Solden, fines, judgments, and jury fees collected, JP4 Bill Ragsdale, County Clerk Jackie J.D. Dowdy, Animal Control Services, Director Reagan Gibbons, Environmental Health OSSF, Director Ashley Batters. I move for approval.
Motion was made by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner Blue to approve the monthly reports as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Information agenda, 3.1, status reports from department heads.
Court orders.
Oh, court orders, I'm sorry. Yeah. check on
Court
that.
orders from our September 21st meeting. I don't have them right here, but I did look through them all, and they all look to be in order, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve the court orders as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. 3.1, status reports from department heads. Okay, there being none. 3.2, status reports from elected officials. Okay, there being none. 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners.
Something on the airport. The airport is wrestling with T-hanger construction. We had a plan to have 10 T-hangers built for $900,000. I think, what was our share of that, Jonathan? A third of that, I think, something like that. City and county, 20%, 30%. Anyway, with the new procedures with TxDOT Aviation, that cost has gone up to $1.6 million. So it's put on the back burner. The airport board is going to try to meet with TxDOT Aviation to find out what's going on there and what they can do about their policy. In the meantime, they're still looking at box hangers. There's been some interest by private people to build some box hangers out there at their expense, but it would just be a ground lease from the airport, so that would be less revenue. But anyway, airport will come forward at the right time to present to the court what's being done on that. And there are a couple of other look like significant business opportunities at the airport that'll come to KEDC and or the airport, so can't go into any detail right now, but that's all good. So.
Good. Any others?
I'll probably put it on the agenda coming up, or we'll circulate it. Happy State Bank has come up with a rendering of what they want the sign to look like at the HIP-MD Event Center for our agreement with them. The court does get to approve it, so it'll be an agenda item, but it looks pretty classy, nice.
Good.
Other than colors, but anyway, it's their colors.
Colors you don't like?
Well, if you go to Abilene, if you go anywhere out in West Texas and you see Happy State Bank, it's the same colors they use everywhere, kind of orange and gold. But it looks good. But we'll get that on agenda and proceed with that. And I guess I will have another interesting thing. I happened to have a dinner the other night with the head of the San Antonio Livestock Show, and they are planning to have a sale. I mean, a show this year, and they are planning to limit it only to exhibitors and families. It's going to be very tightly control is the number of attendees. Their concern is more for the youth, not the public as a whole, and they're pretty adamant that they're going to go on with a show that will all the 4-H and FFA kids can participate in.
But they will have a sale.
They'll have a sale.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how to do a rodeo. They want to have a rodeo. They're going to have a rodeo. They're trying to figure out how to have people at the rodeo, other than the performers. So that was good news. But they're all working through that, and it's, certainly it will have an impact for a lot of the kids in Kirk County. So,
Just a brief update on our Public Defender's Office. Our local committee, we're moving right along. We're in the organizational document stage and job description for the Chief Defender, Public Defender. Our local committee has met and will meet again tomorrow. And I think one more week after that, trying to finalize everything. Some really good input. The 5 judges, 4 of the 5 judges, let me say, met last week after the ACOG meeting. So they've got more stuff to get back to the local committee. Everybody seems to be working well, and we're on track probably to have the organizational documents ready to finalize mid to late October. I worked on a tentative schedule yesterday that I sent out. So it's very busy and very productive and very constructive.
So if all went according to the plans, the schedule would be to begin with.
We would like to be able to form the oversight board by the end of the month. We'd like to be able to try to have the job posting for the Chief Public Defender within a week or so, and try to start that interview process with the oversight board and everybody end of the month, end of October, that range. And there will be temporary office space available in the building as they complete the ADA construction process. And then hopefully we'll have a Chief Public Defender hired sometime in probably mid-November.
So before the end of the year, we have a Public Defender's Office.
And we will have...
Probably December, is that fair?
I think we'll have an office open probably, a small office, temporary office, open probably late November to December, probably.
Okay.
Right after Thanksgiving, something.
There's the Chief Public Defender. He'll have a lot of work to do to get it operational to doing public defending. That probably won't take place probably until at the earliest January sometime.
Yeah, probably. But the good part is we'll have all the counties, we'll have all of our interlocal agreements, we'll have our oversight board. It will be we're talking about we'll be talking about that more tomorrow about how we're going to staff that. Looks like it's going to probably be an 11-person board, and my guesstimate is probably every county is going to have a couple of representatives on there. They'll probably be chosen by their commissioners' courts, and we'll have 3.
5 counties.
5 counties.
And fully staffed, how many people we anticipate?
When it's fully staffed, which probably won't be until late next year, we'll have a total of 31 employees, if we need that many. We're not sure what we really need at this point. That's what the grant's for. 10 of which would probably be in Hondo, 21 of which would be here. And of those, 21 would be attorneys, if we're fully staffed at that level, and 10 would be staff, support staff.
A lot of people.
Yeah. But we're very busy, but we're all working well together, and we're making progress. And that's it's really fulfilling to see so many different people working in the same direction to get so much done in such a short period of time.
Good job.
Anything new with CIP?
In CIP, we've got we submitted a contract on the property in West Kerr County, which was refused. And we have identified 3 other sites that we're actively looking at. We'll be considering those the next time CIP meets, which I think will probably be not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. So we should have something to bring back to you in West Kerr County in the next couple of weeks.
We should also have feedback on the property, potential property for the animal control facility as well.
Yes.
Is this on Spur 100?
Yes, the 5 acres.
The 5 acres, okay.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
So we made I think we're submitting offer on that,
Okay.
and we'll get a report back on that.
So the only thing that we've essentially consummated is Earl Garrett,
Right.
the sanctuary and so forth in the lot.
Right.
West Kirk County is still looking at their negotiating on Spur 100.
I think, yeah.
5 acres.
The big news is that we weren't able to come to agreement on
The six.
West Kerr, on 2 of the big properties, so we're
Right.
moving on to other properties.
Okay, good deal. And,
And committee's actively doing their due diligence on everything.
super. And with that would be looking then at the sale of property that we have, 3 properties where the animal facility, animal control facility, the maintenance facility, and Ranchero Road.
Maintenance will depend a little bit on how it all falls together.
Okay, all right,
And Ranchero Road, we've already had interest expressed by one group,
right.
so
Good.
Good
we've got
deal,
leads on that.
good deal. Super.
So the county's busy. It's all good. I don't believe we have anything on executive committee. Executive session, I'm sorry. So with that, there being no other matters before the court, we are adjourned.